Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. I'm Owen James. This is your Rangers news update. Guys, look, we're going to talk a little bit about the players. The manager's gone. Russell Martin has gone. And obviously we need a new manager. Now, the manager search is hopefully nearing an end, with Kevin Muscat looking like he could be appointed. Hopefully that will be the case. I think he's someone who could come in and really shake things up in a dressing room that badly needs shaking up, with even Jack Butland appearing to question the mentality of certain players yesterday post-match. And I know, look, we all slagged Russell Martin off for the mental fragility side of things. And look, I don't think that was the sole issue at the club. It never was. You know, at the end of the day, the team, as Stevie Clifford said at that press conference, didn't look coached. The team didn't look in a position where, you know, it looked like it knew what it was doing. It didn't look like it knew what the tactics were. It genuinely didn't know what was going on. And look, I get that. And let's, before we make any excuses, you know, look at the fundamental issues. There was a massive issue with coaching. There was a massive issue with organisation. There was a massive issue with tactics. There was a massive issue with motivation of the manager, and that hopefully will be sorted with the appointment of a new manager. But you know, the mentality thing and the confidence thing, I think it plays a big part in this Rangers team. You know, we saw yesterday a first half performance that was pretty good. It was like a 45-minute new manager bounce, and then it all kind of came crashing down. Dundee United grew into the game. We couldn't respond. They get their goals. We couldn't respond. And the players, you've got to start to raise a few questions about the players, you know, in terms of their mentality, in terms of their ability, in terms of where they are and the club they're at. Now, you know, you can be the best player in the world, but playing for Rangers, as we know, is a very different thing. It's a pressure cooker at Ibrox. It is. The weight of that shirt is very, very heavy, and you've got to be a special type of player to be able to cope with the weight of that shirt, to cope with the weight of expectations, to cope with playing for Rangers. You know, as the old saying goes, at most clubs you're as good as your last game. At Rangers, you're as good as your last pass or your last goal, depending on obviously where you play. So look, I think there is a big issue there. Now, if you look at the squad overall, and you look at the development the squad has gone through in the last sort of 12 months, you know, I genuinely feel and that Kevin Thelwell has hugely failed in any sort of improvement to this squad. I would look at that squad and I would argue that it's no better than the squad that Philippe Clement was sacked for having. It was no better. It's no better than the squad that Michael Beale had. It's, you know, in terms of players who've gone and players who've come, you know, has quality been replaced with quality? Or actually, that's the wrong saying. You know, there's an old saying in football. I remember listening to a football manager talk about this, and he said that you only sign a player if he's better than what you've already got, if he'll improve what you've already got, you know, or he will replace and be better than what you have already got. And that was a you know, football. I kind of heard a couple of football managers, you know, down south talk about that. Sir Alex Ferguson, very famous for saying that sort of thing. And you look at that Rangers squad on paper, and you know, with the odd exception, I would challenge anyone to say that there is quality throughout that squad. Looking at it, you know, I've had a bit of time now to really sit at it, look at the game yesterday, look at the performances, look at the players, you know, really consider what I'm watching and try for 5 minutes to turn off my fan's head and put my coach's head on, you know, to look at it as a coach, you know, as a coach. Now, we've spent nearly £30 million this summer on bringing players in. And I'll be quite honest with you, it has not got any better. The players that we've brought in have not made this team per se better. It has not taken it to the next level. It has not improved the quality of what we're watching on the park. And the players that we've currently got, there are some players within the squad who I think have overstayed where they should be, have reached the point where they should have been sold a season, 2 seasons ago, and have kind of slipped into a kind of turn up, pick up your wages, and that's it. That's good enough. That'll do for Rangers, and it won't. You know, it won't do. You know, you look at that list, and if we go down that list for a moment, look at that squad level. And I also think as well, another issue is there's far too many players on loan as well. You know, we currently have Max Aarons on loan, Doric Cornelius on loan, Nasser Giga on loan, Jaden McHomer on loan, and the very useless Mikey Moore on loan. There's 5 players on loan, you know, and a lot of those players start. And I think, you know, how do you create a team and how do you create a long-term vision? Because, you know, players are aware that a lot of those players who are on loan are only here for 12 months, and at the end of that 12 months, they'll walk away, and Rangers doesn't matter to them. And to people like, and I'm not saying, and you may say I'm questioning Jaden Magoma or Mikey Moore or Max Aarons or Gigas or Cornelius' professionalism here, but at the end of the day, those guys know that they've got 12 months here. I mean, in particular, Aarons, Giga, and Moore know that they've got 12 months at this club, and then they will go back to their parent clubs, and will try and obviously fight and get back into their parent club's team. Now, Mikey Moore, can't see him getting into the Spurs team. He's not an English Premier League quality player. Nasa Giga looks a bomb scare, although Wolves, I think, will be playing in the Championship next season, so I think he might do okay down there. And as for Max Aarons, he looks like a bomb scare, so I don't know what happens with him. But I think there's also that element as well. That loan element weakens the squad to some degree. It doesn't strengthen it. Certainly if we look at loan players we've had in the past, and they've come in and they've really raised the level. Abdallah Sima, Vaslav Cherny, and yes, I'm sure you can all quote the ones who haven't, but I'm kind of quoting the ones who have to some degree. And I don't think we've got a Cherny or a Sima in this squad. Now, looking down that squad, Jack Butland for me, obviously is a player well worth his place. He's a top level player. He's pulled off some great saves this season. His distribution improved yesterday. I thought he looked good yesterday. He couldn't do anything about either of the goals. Jack's really stepped it up and fought back. And Jack went through a lot last season. He really did. So for me, Jack Butland is blameless. In terms of, James Tavernier is a funny one. As I said on the video this morning, I don't think he's a captain. He hasn't displayed a leadership quality. When we've been in a situation where we've needed a leader on the park, he has been missing. And as I said, he is one of the worst captains in this club's history. Massively is. And, yesterday, yes, he gets his goal. Fantastic. Well done, Tav. You scored a goal. But defensively, you were all over the place. I was watching the game back this morning, and there's times when they come in down our right side, down their left, and he's just not there. He's disappeared. And you look for him on the you pause the recording for a minute and you watch. And where is he? He's in the middle of midfield, or he's up the front. And that's not his job. He's a player who shouldn't be here still. He's 2 to 3 seasons past his sell-by date. And, James Tavernier is part... I will maintain this to my dying day, that whilst the manager and the club's hierarchy are a massive part of what is wrong at this football club, huge part of what is wrong, James Tavernier is also a massive part of what is wrong at this football club. John Suter looks average this season. Joe Rothwell is a League One player who, Joe Rothwell's not a player who should be starting a game for Rangers, even especially not in Europe. He's not of that quality. Connor Barron's a squad player. Yusuf Chimiti, honestly, Yusuf Chimiti needs it. That whole situation needs investigating. It really genuinely does. How he is worth 8.5 million. People say, 8.5 is not a lot of money in Premier League terms. Yes, but to Rangers, it is a lot of money. It is a lot of money. And he doesn't even look like scoring. He looks allergic to goal scoring. He looks like a player who, to be honest with you, Sibo, Selenko, Umar Sadiq are all better players than he is. He looked genuinely poor. And I'd be looking, is Chimiti's agent Kevin Thelwell's brother? Is Yusuf Chimiti Kevin Thelwell's long lost son? I don't know what the situation is there, but there's something not right about it at all. Dio is good in Europe, but I don't think he's suited to playing Scottish Premier League football. Thello Asgard had a good game yesterday, but it's his first good game, so the jury is well and truly out. Cornelius looks a decent player, and I think he's someone who could have a future at Rangers. Bayrami, again, I think when played in the 10 role, looks a decent footballer. Lyle Cameron, another one, looks a decent footballer, and I think could play a fundamental part for Rangers going forward if managers pick him and use him in the right way. Matondo is just a wage thief and genuinely a player who, ever since he signed, has never really lived up to what we were told about him. Ant-Man came in, blazed in game one, and again yesterday was absolutely shocking. Can't beat a man, doesn't know how to play on the wing. I don't know what we've signed there. Genuinely don't. And Ciala, I can't comment on him. He hasn't had enough opportunities to play. Dowell is just one of the worst players I've ever seen in my entire life. Dujon Sterling is a good player, and I think he should be our starting right back. He's a better right back than Tavernier. He's a million times the player that James Tavernier is, but he's always injured. Always injured. Gassama is, I think, the one real standout. He is an absolute superstar. He is quality, and he won't be at Rangers very long. I don't believe he'll go on to play in the Premier League. He is a very talented footballer. Giga looks a bomb scare. Bojan Miovski, yes, did it for Aberdeen, but he got service. He doesn't get enough service here. He doesn't get enough chances created for him. He's not going to score goals if he doesn't get chances. And the problem is we're not creating enough for him. on the whole, you watch the games and Miovski thrives on service, and he's in a team that doesn't give him service. So that's something that obviously the new manager is going to have to address. Jayden Magoma is solid enough, but again, to me, it's a disgrace that we've got only one left back on the entire roster. Kelly and Wright are just pish poor. Emmanuel Fernandez, I'd forgot was even at the club still. I mean, why did we pay so much money for him? What's the idea with him? Is he here to play or is he here not to play? I don't know. Nicholas Raskan, I think, looks a little lost at the moment, but he's a very, very good player. I think used in the right way, he's our one world-class player, our one top talent. Mikey Moore is just awful. I mean, genuinely awful. He looks like a kid in a lads v dads match. I mean, he genuinely does. Bailey Rice doesn't get an opportunity, so we can't comment on him. Finley Curtis is quality, absolute quality. Should be starting, should be playing for me. And Danilo, again, he's another one who I think looks lost at Rangers. Genuinely does look lost at Rangers, not able to cope with the physicality. That squad is just not good enough. And like I said, you look at the transfers and you look at the players we've brought in, they have not improved this squad. They are squad players, excuse me. They are rotational pieces. That's all they are. Kevin Thelwell needs to be held accountable. Now, when the next manager comes in, if that be Muscat, whoever that be, he's got a lot of work to do to try and get that squad to look like a team. Now, a good coach can get a team to play, even with average players. He can make an average player look good. He can make a good player look great. He can look a great player look world class. There is that ability. A good coach can do that. A good coach can raise levels. So the hope is that can happen with the new manager. But I think there's a lot of very average footballers, squad players in that team. And I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of players in that squad that make that squad look like a Dundee squad or a Dundee United squad or an Aberdeen squad, not like a squad that's going to go on to challenge Hearts and Celtic this season. And at what point do we start having a discussion that we say that this is becoming a massive concern now? This is a huge, huge concern. You look at the SPL table as it sits this morning, and yes, at time of recording, Celtic haven't played. I fully expect them to beat Dundee today, but we'll obviously hold on that one. After 8 games, Hearts have 22 points. After 7 games, Celtic have 17 points. After 8 games, Rangers have 9 points. Only one more point than games played. Rangers have won 1 game this season in the league. 1 solitary game we have won in the league this season. 1. I mean, that's just not acceptable. 6 draws in that. It's only 1 defeat, but 6 draws. A -1 goal difference. We've scored 8 goals in 8 games. We're averaging a goal a game. Hearts have scored 19 in their 8 games, averaging over 2 goals a game. Celtic on 11 in 7, slightly obviously less than 2 goals a game, but still better than us. It's becoming a major concern, a major worry to be that many points behind. And, questions do have to be asked about this squad now. Questions do have to be put out. The only team we have beaten in the league this season is Livingston. Just to put some perspective on this, is Livingston. Livingston currently sit bottom of the SPL. So the only team we have actually managed to beat this season is the bottom of the league team. I mean, let that just sink in for a minute. This is Rangers. This is not Kilmarnock we're talking about, or Dundee we're talking about, or St Johnstone we're talking about. We're talking about Rangers. And we've won 1 game this season against the bottom of the league team. And as I said, this squad is nowhere near good enough. Now, I've heard worrying conversations around players that in January, the manager won't be allowed to spend any money and it'll be just free transfers that we're looking at and loans again, which to me is just not acceptable or good enough. There's still a lot of players that need to come in, and we need another left back. We need I think we need a right back. We need a creative midfield player. We need another number 6. We need a striker. There's a number of positions that I feel that do need to be addressed in this transfer window. But I suppose the question would be, would you trust Kevin Thelwell to spend that money? Probably not. So maybe the decision only to go for frees and loans actually looks quite wise on that one. But it is an exceptionally concerning situation. And I honestly feel that just appointing the new manager itself is not going to solve everything. And if Parag Marathe and Andrew Kavanagh are sitting there this morning saying, right, let's get Kevin Muscat in, that'll sort everything, we'll be fine then going forward, then they're obviously living in a cloud cuckoo land where the clouds must be purple. Because The issue is also at the top. Patrick Stewart is not fit to be CEO. The guy has done nothing but throw the fans under the bus from minute one and done nothing to improve this football club. Kevin Thelwell, through his signings, make you want Ross Wilson back. He's taken the club backwards. And the players are average, very average. So this club is not in a good place at this moment in time, and big work needs to be done. And I think there was a lot of fans yesterday going into that game yesterday that thought Russell Martin's gone, Stevie Smith's in charge, it'll all be great, we'll go out there, we'll smash Dundee 3-4-0 and everything will be fine and dandy again. Guys, this is going to take a long time to get back from. Trust me, things are not great at this moment in time, and this team is not in a good place. There's a lot of players that need to be fundamentally got rid of and wheeled out. And one of the big ones for me is change the bloody captain. Get rid of Tavernier, get him out of the squad, get him right back in January and bring someone in. Get Sterling fit before then. Do something, because something has got to change. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please obviously like, comment, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.